the big project that I'm working on at the moment is about the history of federal policy change, and what I'm trying to do is aggregate explanations for policy changes in all sorts of different issue areas. So I read a bunch of histories of policy change, like things like environmental policy 1950 to 1990, and I collect all the information they have about what were the major policy changes, who was involved in those policy changes, what factors played a role in moving policy in one direction or another, and then I compare across all different types of authors, all different types of issue areas, and time to see, are there any broad trends in the policymaking process? Are there any big differences across policymaking in different issue areas? But the big question is, what are the determinants of policy change? The Michigan Policy Network is a website that I run with undergraduates, and it's designed to inform the public about state policy issues. We try to be sort of partway in between like a news source and a research operation. We're sort of doing what I would call sort of light research, like comparisons between the Big Ten states, overtime trends in policy, kind of outlining the debates that are going on in the legislature, with an eye towards creating content that has that lasts a little bit longer. But all the research and reporting is done by undergraduates, so I have about 15 at a time students who focus in particular issue areas and go talk to interest group leaders and legislators and go collect information about what's going on in state policy. I teach a class on the politics of the policy process, political parties and interest groups, campaigns and elections. Those are for undergraduates, and then I also teach a few courses for PhD students. Well, the fun thing about most of my courses is that they have a current events focus, so we can talk about what's going on now at the federal and the state level while we're discussing broader theoretical concepts about how these different actors behave. And then we can also try to simulate some of what's happening in the real world. So we do debates, we do activities in class where we're trying to act as party leaders and interest group leaders and campaigners and voters, in addition to learning about the background and history of those parts of the political process. So my primary research, the project that I mentioned, is about interest group influence and interest group mobilization in American politics. So I have a book manuscript that hopefully will come out at some point about what kinds of groups in the public generate more organized representation to speak on their behalf. And I'm doing research on sort of when does interest group activity actually influence the legislative process. So does it matter? Does lobbying matter? Does interest group endorsements matter? And if so, when and where and why?